Welcome back to the Less Stress Doctor. This is Dr. Gary Sprouse here to give you another update on ways to get through this coronavirus with less stress. Today what I want to talk about is boredom. Yeah, that's a big topic. Here's what I found, that boredom is actually really bad. In fact, it's so bad that when we take our prisoners and they've done something wrong in prison, that we put them in solitary confinement, which guess what? That's boredom. And it's really bad. It drives people crazy to be that bored. So, but here's an interesting thing. I've talked to a couple of people and I said, hey, give me a definition of boredom. And they look at me like, yeah, sure, I know what that is. And then when they go to try to define it, they find out that, you know what, I really don't know how to define it. I just know what it feels like and it doesn't feel good at all, right? So what I've seen is there's all these parents and people that are staying at home now, not being able to get out and do their normal activities, and they are bored to tears and they don't know what to do with themselves. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was, what is boredom? When I looked into it, it turns out it's actually three things. First is that, like in solitary confinement, there's just literally no stimulation, and your brain goes crazy. It needs to be stimulated. The second is that you have a goal, but it's getting interfered with. So say you wanted to be a nurse, but now you have to take a course on art appreciation, and you're like, that doesn't have anything to do with my being a nurse. And so then you get bored because it's getting in the way of you getting to your goal. But the other half of that is you don't have a goal. So now you're sitting around with nothing that actually makes you feel excited or makes you feel like you want to do something. The third, which I find is actually the most common, is, and this is an interesting concept, it's actually a withdrawal syndrome. So if somebody's on heroin and they withdraw from heroin, there's very specific things that happen. And they'll get a runny nose and they get a stomach pain and their muscles are crawling and they have a very specific withdrawal syndrome. But what I found is that boredom is actually withdrawal syndrome. And what you're withdrawing from is adrenaline. When kids, when they're playing in a game, and they say, hey, I'm bored, and you look and you go, wait, let's see, you got videos, you got books, you have artwork, you have a football, you have a TV. I mean, there's so many things around them, and yet they're saying they're bored. And what that means to me is that they've been stimulated, and they've gotten used to that level of stimulation, and now that no longer gives them the adrenaline rush that they were looking for, and so that they go into withdrawal, and we call it boredom. So as parents, what I've seen is that they give more stimulation, so get a better video game or a more involved or a more complicated one. But really what might need to happen is to actually let them get through the withdrawal and let them reset their boredom level. The example that I use is somebody lived in New York City and you brought them down to where I live in Queen Anne's County. They would be going from a high stimulation area to a lower stimulation area, and they would go into, guess it, withdrawal, and they would feel bored. But if you kept them here for a month or 2 or 6, they would get used to that level of stimulation, and that would be where they would reset. And then if you took that person and sent them back to New York, then they'd be overwhelmed, and they'd be like, oh my God, this is a crazy place. So if those are the definitions of boredom, and you're now having boredom for any one of those reasons, let's see if there's some things that we can do to get through this together. So I put together a list. I'm going to read it to you so you can, I don't want to forget things. But one of the things that I did was I tried to think sort of outside the box. So let me go through this list. I'm going to put my glasses on so I can see. So the first one that I talked about is planning a trip to a foreign country. And before you say, hey, I don't like to fly, or that's too far away, or that's too expensive, I want you to keep in mind that we have 2 neighbors that you can drive to. One is Mexico and one is Canada. So whether you actually go on the trip or not doesn't really matter. Planning is the important part. And if you get to go, wow, that's extra. That's icing on the cake. The other part to planning the vacation, and here's the interesting part, is that I want you to learn a foreign language. So if you're going to go to Mexico, I want you to learn Spanish. And then your whole family can be involved with learning a foreign language. The other way, if you go to Canada, you go to Quebec and Montreal, they speak French. So you can learn how to speak French. And that becomes part of your planning of your trip. And I've been to foreign countries, and when you can speak their language, even a little bit, It makes the vacation so much more fun. Second is, this is what I learned this is for parents with smaller kids. It's a game that I used to play with my kids, and I called it Monster or Chase. And basically what I did was I needed about 30 minutes exercise. And so when I played this game with my children, I would say, hey, I'm the monster and I'm going to chase you. And when I would catch one, I'd put them in jail. But the other one would be free, and they could free up their sibling. And so then it was a game that lasted about a half an hour. I would chase them, and they would get caught and then get uncaught and get freed. They loved it. I had 30 minutes of exercise, and it was great family time. And it's something you can do in an apartment, or you can do it in a house, or you can do it in your front yard, but it can definitely be done in your house. Third thing is, now pick a movie. And what I've seen in this day and age, when everybody has 10 TVs in their house, that everybody picks their own movie and they go watch a movie that they want to watch by themselves. But what I'm suggesting is that everybody has to get together and pick a movie and then sit and watch it. Have popcorn, have candy, do whatever you would do if you went to the movie theater, and sit there and enjoy it as a family. Here's the twist. The second night, I want you to watch the same movie, but this time, I want you to change the focus. So instead of actually watching the movie, what I want you to do is count how many scene changes there are, or how many camera angles there are throughout the movie. Or something like figure out how much time is spent with music in the background versus not. I was watching a movie the other day and I was realizing there's so much music in the movie that you don't even realize it's there because it's so much in the background. But if you shift your focus, you can watch the same movie several different times and see it in a whole different light. The next one is pick up a book and read it. Read it as a family. Read it out loud. Don't read it to yourself. Pick a book just like you would pick a movie, but read it out loud, and if you want, you can act it out. Next one along that same line is, hey, why don't you sit down as a family or as an individual and write a play? Okay, everybody gets a part. Everybody can figure out what the play is going to be, and then here's the cool thing, is you can film it just like we're filming right now, and you can put it on YouTube. How cool would that be? We live in a global world, and one of the things that I've been realizing about this pandemic is the world is very, very connected at this point. So it's between travel and internets, the difference between somebody in India and China and the United States is getting smaller and smaller. So one of the things that you could do is every week pick a new country and learn about that country. Because as we get older, the world is shrinking, and we need to know more about our neighbors. And the more we know about the people around us and their cultures, the more familiar they are, the more comfortable we interacting with them. Here's an interesting one. I want you to find a wall in your house that has the least amount of things on it. And then I want you to plan, and I want you to paint a mural. Right? Whatever it is that you would like. Paint whatever comes to what your family decides. And then after a week or two, paint another one. You can just paint right over it. And at the end of this pandemic, and it will end, it is going to go away. When it gets over, then you can paint it back to whatever it was originally. So then there's some other things, like if you want to go outside, you can start a garden. But if you don't have an outside, I just saw an ad for something where you can do, it's called hydroponic, and you have the garden inside your house. You can have a scavenger hunt inside your house. One of the things that my friends and I did recently was an escape room. You could have an escape room in your own house. Why not? Here's one that I think I should do is like my son, when he was younger, we would play video games. Well, he would play and I would sort of watch, but it turned out I really was bad at it. And so he would laugh at me, but it was part of the reason I was so bad is because I didn't practice. But now we have extra time, so now you can learn the video game, and maybe you can learn to be good enough to compete with your kids. So those are just some of the suggestions that I came up with. I'm sure you guys are creative, but when you think of boredom as a withdrawal syndrome from stimulation, then what you need to do is be patient and let the withdrawal symptoms go away, and you'll get back to a different level, and that will be more comfortable. If it's a problem where you don't have a goal, then one of the things that I just suggested, like a play or a mural, will give you a goal that will be exciting. If it's a thing where something's getting in the way of your goal, again, then you just have to be patient. One of the things that I found is if you're having to take an art appreciation course, there's something that you can learn in there, and that you will use these things. So what I find as a doctor, when I'm in with patients, I find that I have a knowledge that I can talk to everybody a little bit about what it is that they do. And so it makes them more comfortable, and it makes me feel better. And if it's just lack of stimulation, that doesn't really happen in our country. I mean, people have so much stuff around them between TVs and books. That's not usually the problem. So, hopefully these things will help you. So this is Dr. Gary Sprouse. Hopefully you can subscribe to us and share it, because my goal is to get this information out to everybody. So this is Dr. Gary Sprouse, the LessStressDoc, signing off, and be safe.